So the European Commission seems to be pushing for the digital ID to be implemented. Why do you believe it is pressing the states like that?
Well, it's a very simple thing because that will supply them with an imaginable power tool, and they will not take no for an answer on this. They need to gain power of the people, control of the people, because their narrative is crumbling. They have lost so much credibility, and people are wisening up to that fact, and they are openly rejecting their ideas. And you see that in the elections in the member states, especially in the Eastern European countries. And the reason for that is that we especially see it in Eastern European countries is the simple fact they have lived through totalitarianism and they recognize the signs, so they reject it outright. And now it's even spreading into the Western countries. I mean, parties that actually stand for freedom, democracy, and the rule of law, like AfD in Germany does. We are being subject to oppression. They're trying to ban us in Germany. So they're doing whatever they can to protect their power and to protect the official narrative. But it's crumbling. That's why they're bashing down on social media, trying to censor social media with the DSA and all that kind of stuff they're coming up with. It's all about maintaining their power, maintaining control of the narrative, so they can continue to gaslight and manipulate people into all this kind of BS about it's all for your best and it's all about public health and it's just for your convenience. This is all, it literally is BS, and people should not believe that anymore. It's about power and controlling every single citizen. That's what we're talking about.
Okay, in the current texts, they emphasize the protection of privacy and liberties. Is there specific points in the directives that you can point at that are warning signs?
Well, yeah, of course. Just look at, now they claim they want to protect children from sexual exploitation and child pornography. And their solution or their aim, their measure to achieve that goal, which they don't care about children, trust me. But they're trying to achieve that, or say that we can achieve that if we now have clear names on social media. And of course, you also need to have some kind of a certificate, like you need to submit your ID before you can even post on social media. This, like they starting with the under 16-year-olds or, that threshold. No, it has nothing to do with protecting children from sexual exploitation. They don't give a damn about that. They really don't. It is about, they start with the 16, once they become 16, you have to submit your ID. There is no freedom of speech anymore. Because in my country, in Germany right now, if you post a stupid meme criticizing a politician, right, the next morning you might have the secret state police knocking on your door. So we have now this phrase in Germany, you better have your bathrobe ready, right? You never know when they come knocking. And it's really ridiculous stuff. So there was this Stefan Niemeyer, he was a pensioner, and he simply retweeted a meme that showed a rather well-known hair product company, and it was like just a black, dark head, like quantify of a man, and Red Schwarzkopf, that's the name of the company. So, and they changed it to have the quantify of the former economic minister, Habeck, and it read Schwachkopf below, which means moron. And for that, he was tried. I mean, they were all over him. They searched his house, and the state actually backed this. I mean, he had a judge's order to get his house searched. This is totally ridiculous. Now, the German Chancellor, Friedrich Merz, he was, someone referred to him and said, oh, Pinocchio is coming to town, right? Making a reference to him. Well, guess what? They pressed charges against him. I mean, this is totally ludicrous. And these are clear signs of how totalitarian this state has actually become. And it does not stop in Germany. Look to the UK. The same is happening over there. It's pretty much happening in every single Western democracy. And that's the most scary part about this. Because if there was 1 or 2 or 3 states going rogue, going berserk like this, right? The people, they could have the hope eventually someone is going to step in and put a stop to this. But since it's happening in every single Western democracy, who the hell is going to bail us out? There isn't going to be anyone coming. I mean, it's not going to be China, trust me. It's not going to be Russia either. Trust me on that one. So who is going to come? No one. No one will come this time around. So it's up to the people to take their fates in their own hand and fight for freedom, democracy, and the rule of law, and let all of these, I call them globalitarian misanthropists, because I don't want to call them elites. There are no elites. Because the simple point is we need to make it clear to the globalitarian misanthropists that our freedom, democracy, and rule of law are not up for negotiation. They should stick that. It's not happening.
So you believe the EU will not protect the people's data? I noticed in the last omnibus that they're adding new exemptions, and one of them was in case of emergency.
Yeah, I mean, they won't protect our data, trust me. I mean, they're probably going to sell it to whoever, pays them more in a heartbeat. Protecting data. Let's look back at I mentioned it earlier, the so-called digital green certificate. There was that COVID pass, right? It was mandatory for me to disclose my vaccination status to every single waiter in a restaurant, to a salesperson in a shoe store. The whole world knew whether I was vaccinated or not, or I shouldn't say vaccinated because it wasn't a vaccine, if I had taken that mRNA shot or not, right? So where is protection data there? This is personal information. By the way, this is what the MEPs in this House claimed when we eventually at a certain point required them to disclose their mRNA shot status, because we wanted to find out if all the ones that advocated for mRNA injections and were all over it and calling others murderers if they hadn't taken it, we wanted to find out if they had taken it themselves, right? But then all of a sudden it was a matter of personal privacy, and they refused to open up or give any insights in their mRNA status. And that's just the way it works around here, right? They will protect data when it's about them, but they will not protect your data. Never, ever believe that for a second. They will simply not do it.
Okay. Is there a warning you want to give the people and maybe tell them how they can fight the digital ID?
Yeah, well, the most important thing actually is you need to speak up, because totalitarian regimes, they rely on the fact that people are too afraid to speak up. So, and that's how it is usually in dictatorships or in totalitarian regimes. People have families, they need to be fed, they need to be housed, So everyone is just kind of trying to get by, and they will not say anything because they're afraid of what the government will do. So, but the system only depends, it literally depends on the silence of people. So if people just spoke up, and every single dissenting voice will break this brainwashing cycle. So I would really urge the people, be that little kid that just stood up and said, the emperor is naked. And then it will all fall apart. Be that little kid, just stand up and say loud and clearly, look, the emperor is actually naked. He is butt naked.
Do you think it's not too late? For instance, is the EU in connection with the ID 2020 alliance that's also pushing it globally? If there is a global agenda to digitalize everybody's ID, is there a way for Europe to resist?
Of course there is. There always is a way to resist. We just need to do it. We had elections in 24. And like I said, the people are beginning to wake up. And the people, the representatives that actually do stand for freedom, democracy, and the rule of law, we have grown in numbers. We don't have a majority yet, but it's becoming increasingly more difficult to just push their agenda through. It's not working anymore. So, and they're, totally in uproar. They're, because they're realizing what is happening. There have been a number of votes that didn't go their way, and they were just hyperventilating and, whatever else. So, come 29, with the next election, this number will even be better in our favor. And then we will be able to turn all of this around. But we need the people to realize what's going on and to adjust their voting behavior accordingly. And I would really urge you, do not ever vote for representatives again that sell you down the river. Take note of what they're saying in Parliament, and especially take note of what they're doing actually, and then decide who you can vote for and who you can't.
And can you summarize what is the main danger with digital ID?
Well, the main danger is we will become totally transparent to the state, to the government. They can, view whatever you're doing. So let's say you're going shopping, grocery shopping, and since you have guests coming over on the weekend, you decide to buy 4 or 5 bottles of wine, right? On the way home, you decide, well, I might as well, fill up my tank in the car. So you stop at a gas station, and guess what? You insert your digital ID, and you're trying to pump the gas, and nothing is coming out. And you go like, what? Yeah, well, you just bought alcohol, right? So they can just switch it off. And, it's total control. And this is the problem, really. In a country or in a state where the citizen knows everything about the government, that is what you call a democracy. But in a state where the government knows everything about the citizen, that's what you call a tyranny. And we are on the way, so we need to stop it.
Can we stop it? Can you stop it as a member of European Parliament?
Well, I cannot do it all by myself, obviously. We need majorities. We also need, like I said, the people to speak up, to challenge the official narrative. They need to change their voting behavior. And yeah, we do need people to take to the streets and make it known that they will no longer tolerate what is being done to them. And then we will be able to change it. Yes, absolutely.